About 10 years ago, I had an idea for a movie. I'd seen a lot of horror movies, which I love very much, with blonde girls getting themselves killed in dark alleys, and I just germinated this idea about how much I'd like to see a blonde girl go into a dark alley, get attacked by a big monster, and then kill it. And that was sort of the genesis for the idea of the movie, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I worked on that for a while, and eventually it got made. Several years after, the people who owned the rights came to me and said, "Are you interested in making a series out of it?" And although it had been a fun idea for a movie, I wasn't really sure if there was a whole series there just about this girl going and killing vampires. So I started to think about it, and I came up with the notion of playing all sorts of horror movies in high school and making them really metaphors for just how frightening and horrible high school is. My original script for the movie was kind of dark and scary, and it was comedic, but the final product was much more just a broad comedy. With the show, I kind of wanted to get back to the roots of genuine horror, but with a lot of comedy and a lot of edge and a lot of sort of, self-reflective examination of horror, but at the same time make it genuinely creepy and hopefully genuinely moving. Sunnydale is every town in America, basically, and really every town in the world. We chose a bright, sunny, sunshiny California town because that sort of contrasts with what we expect, where we expect to see horror. But basically it's supposed to be any high school, your high school, my high school, anywhere where boys and girls are going through their adolescence and torturing each other because of it. Ostensibly, in the narrative, we put the town on a hellmouth. Which means that it's a sort of center of mystical energy, and every sort of monster and creature and spell and bad thing that can happen from the underworld is sort of drawn there, and that's our excuse for, all these monsters that keep cropping up. But really, anybody who's ever been to high school knows that they're just there. Well, we had certain rules about making vampires that we imposed on ourselves. I wanted them to look monstrous. So that when Buffy killed them, we didn't feel this was a girl just killing people. I felt uncomfortable with that. I wanted to say, these are demons. At the same time, you want them to look normal, so you can wonder, is that guy a vampire? So we could hide the truth about Angel. So we, had the idea, and this has been done before, we're not the first to use it, that when they feed or when they get very emotional, their demon faces sort of come out. And as far as the characters of vampires are concerned, it's really dictated by whatever we need. Sometimes we have the froofy European Anne Rice type vampires, and sometimes we have the dusty Western near dark type vampires, and sometimes we just have a bunch of stuntmen. Buffy has to fight every kind of demon that we can come up with: Frankensteins, robots. Demons, with horns, a ventriloquist's dummy, and any horror movie that we loved, we want to throw in there. Buffy was an incredibly difficult part to cast because you really need a character actress in the body of a leading lady, and that's harder to find than you might expect. Sarah came in. She was beautiful. She was accomplished. She actually had taken some Taekwondo, which didn't hurt, but the most important thing is she found the humor in it. She was very light and very engaging and very funny, but at the same time she brought a lot of intelligence to it, which is something Buffy needs. If she's just a bimbo, eventually you lose interest. But Sarah could be as quirky and silly as Buffy needs to be, but at the same time bring real depth and intelligence to what she's going through. Buffy was always intended to be a role model. And, we're not out to confront issues, we're not out to lecture people, but it was very important to me that Buffy be the kind of girl girls could look up to and relate to and show not only a hero, but how difficult it is to be a hero. Well, a Buffyism is basically just an odd way of speaking. People often quote the sort of things that people say, but we don't have a lot of phrases that we like to use. Basically, it's not about creating a word that all the kids are going to go out and say. It's more about just sort of twisting the English language until it cries out in pain. I love language, and I love playing with the way people talk and their cadences, and, the thing about trying to create hip, fresh teen speak is that by the time you get it on the air, it's over. You can't say what the teens are saying because they're not saying it anymore. 40,000 sitcoms of guys going, well, that's whack. And, for 3 years after people had stopped saying it, were just embarrassing. So I knew when I wrote the movie, I tried to listen to teenagers to see what they talk like, and they all talked like Heathers. So that was useless to me. So I said, I'll just create a way of speaking. And if it catches on, then it will be what teens are saying. Well, Angel started out as a potential love interest, but quite frankly, we had no idea. Would he work? Would he be any good? David was an unknown, and we didn't know if people would respond to the relationship. Of course, they did, and Buffy and Angel are a great romance. We got a lot of things coming up. Angel will, in fact, have his own series next year. He won't be in Sunnydale anymore. He won't be that far away because I hope to do some crossing over between the characters. Buffy and friends, they've been in high school for 3 years. They're about to graduate. And so next season we're going to see them going to college or not going to college, depending on their characters. And they're going to find out that the angst they've been going through in high school doesn't ever stop. Well, yes. I was a pathetic loser in high school, and this school Sunnydale is based largely on my high school experience and the experiences of other writers who work on the show. I attended a school, in New York for several years, Riverdale, where I underwent many humiliations and much anxiety, and that finds its way in the series. I actually finished high school in England at a all-male boarding school.
I play Buffy Summers, who is the chosen one, and to every generation is born one whose job is to fight the evil, not just vampires, any underground evil. And a slayer is the person that is born to fight this. You are chosen. There can only be one slayer at a time. Every time a slayer dies, a new one is called. Usually you discover it when they come and find you. In Buffy's case, she was in her high school in Los Angeles, a sort of vapid and vacuous valley girl, and one day, her watcher showed up and said, "You are the chosen one." And from then on, it's been her job. Sunnydale is a town in Southern California, sort of unspecified as to exactly where it is. We assume it's south of Los Angeles. And Sunnydale happens to be built on a hellmouth, which is a portal of evil. So evil demons, they all seem to gravitate towards Sunnydale because of this hellmouth. Giles is Buffy's watcher. Buffy had a watcher before Giles, who we don't talk about much, who, if you've seen the movie, you know he was killed. But it's not something we address much. Giles and Buffy have a sort of antagonistic relationship. He's very stuffy British, and she's still part Valley Girl, so a lot of it is conflict, but he loves her like a father loves a child. So there are emotions that are crossed there. Well, I think like every teenager, Buffy's torn. There's a point in your life when you're not a child anymore, but you're not an adult. And there are decisions to be made that people don't want to help you with, and it's a very, very difficult time. And there's Buffy just trying to deal with the problems of adolescence, of dating, of parenting, of, learning when to cross the line, when not to. At the same time, she has this adult job and adult responsibility, and the two worlds collide. Well, as I've gotten older, so has Buffy. Obviously, aside from the physical and the hairdos changing and the hair colors, Buffy's matured through her experiences. She's seen a lot now. She's had her first love. She's had her first sexual experience. And she's gone through a lot of things with her friends, and like anybody, that changes you. Joss has his own sort of language that's a little difficult for us mere mortals to understand. I grew up in New York. We didn't have Valley Girls, and a lot of times I should say constantly, I'm asking him, what does this mean? I'm not quite sure. There's a very funny story around here, and that revolves around the audition, where the first line is, "What's the sitch?" And there I go walking in, and my first, "What does this mean?" No idea it meant situation. Talk about blowing a job instantly. Joss is brilliant. I mean, the show is his baby. These ideas are all in his head, and it's wonderful to see him take them from up here and most of the time able to explain them to us. The show is done with love, and that's the amazing thing, and it's not just Joss, it's everybody. It's every grip and electrician, and everybody loves the show. It's a very brutal show to make. The hours are horrible. The conditions are never wonderful. We work a lot of nights, a lot of smoke, a lot of fire. The show couldn't be done if everybody didn't love doing it and was proud of the work that they did. Well, I think the beauty of the show is that it appeals to everybody. It's a show that adults can watch with their children. Young children just enjoy the monsters and the pretty people and the funny jokes. older teenagers can relate to it, especially females. It's the first time in a long time, now the trend is moving towards it, we're gravitating towards these strong female individuals that people can look up to. Buffy is not the smartest in her school, she's not the prettiest, she's not the most popular, she's okay with who she is. And it's very important as a teenager that you have someone that you can look up to that's an individual. Because as we all know, high school is not your sheep. You follow the trends, and it's wonderful to learn that individuality is important. Young, early 20s, it's just a fun, campy show, and adults can watch it with their children and later talk about the messages that we incorporate. A lot of the metaphors that Joss uses relate to everybody. I mean, at some point in their life, everybody knows what it's like to feel invisible in school, that people don't notice you. Our girl just happens to actually turn invisible. Every day is a challenge on this show, between sitting in makeup for all this time to get these bruises, to going from a happy scene to a crying scene, to it's 2 o'clock in the morning and we're still doing action work. It is a very difficult show to do.
Yeah, so my relationship with Buffy is the fact that, his name is Angel. He's a 242-year-old vampire with a conscience who has feelings for Buffy, who is a vampire slayer. And in the beginning of the whole episodes, the beginning of the season, she didn't know he was a vampire, and now found out. And so now that I am a vampire, there's that tension, that romantic heat that's between the two of us. Should she kill? Should she not kill? And she can't kill because I have feelings for her, and she knows I'm good, but I probably will turn bad. Yeah, they were basically pretty much in the 11th hour with the character, and they had looked for, all over the place for this guy. And at the time, I didn't have a manager, and I was walking my dog, and my manager saw me walking my dog, and he said, "Oh, this guy'd be great for the part. I know the casting director." So he stopped me and said, "I'd like to take you in and for this part. Are you an actor?" "Yeah." And I said, "Yeah." And before I knew it, I was in reading for Buffy. Got the part, wasn't even signed with my manager, and it's just snowballed from there. It's just the character has literally taken off from a 7 out of 12 in the first episode to being a series regular the second season and becoming part of the team. So it's been quite a ride. He's moving away from Sunnydale, and Joss has created his second series called Angel, which will take place in Los Angeles, and it'll be more of an adult-oriented show where I will fight the demons of, the demons of people's pasts, what they hold on to, and what Angel lives for, and what he goes through with his nightmares. He'll try to make amends with through other people by killing their own demons, and somewhat trying to regain his own soul in the process. So it should make for very interesting episodes. Yeah, I think he's really in tune with his actors and his writers and his people that he works with, and he's on the set, which makes it very comfortable. Not only a creator of a show, but somebody who comes down to the set while they're shooting and gives his own personal notes, which doesn't really happen today in Hollywood on television shows. Sarah's she is one of the other things I will miss most about leaving the show is working with Sarah. We've created a special bond between the two of us that is very unique and different, and she has the ability to transform herself very quickly, very professionally, and very openly, which makes it easier for another actor to kind of ride along with her. She comforts you and gives you a sense of who you are as a person and not as an actor, which is, I feel, the best thing to have. She's a wonderful presence, and she's very strong in what she does. She exudes a lot of confidence, and it shows. And I'll miss that a lot. Yeah, the makeup process takes about an hour and 20 minutes. It's a piece that fits from here to here, and Todd McIntosh is wonderful. He just blends it all in, so the final result's very sharp and clean, makes for a very scary vampire. It can be tedious, and taking it off is the worst part, because you have to sit there and you want to just rip the damn thing off, but you can't because you'll take a piece of your skin with you, so it has to be removed very delicately to take it off. But the end result is great. It's worth it. Definitely is worth it. It's a wide range, and that's one of the most surprising things about it, is the fact that they see Buffy the Vampire Slayer, think teenage, but you know what? Watch it and you'll be surprised, because the writing dictates the show and leads you on a ride that you'll have a lot of fun with.